For today's video, I'm going to try to do a quick review of the September 2025 issue of Clarkesworld magazine. Their first story up is called Abstraction is when I design giant death creatures, and Attraction is when I do it for you, by Claire Gia Wynn. So I think that might be the longest short story title I've ever seen, but that did not detract from my enjoyment of this story. So this story is about a society that lives in these underground bunkers on a planet, and they can't, it's very difficult to leave the planet. It's very expensive, and most people can't afford the travel. And in this society, there are these mech battles. So these giant mechanized machines battle each other. They are controlled remotely by pilots. And the main character is a person who is an artist. And I kind of thought of it as a kind of concept artist that draws the mechs and then gives it over to engineers who design the mechs based on this concept art. And this person is in a relationship with one of the pilots, the mech pilots, and the pilot's kind of an aging person, and but she's a very popular, very successful mech fighter. And it turns out that this artist was kind of drawing mechs in a way to make the fights easier for her, and so that is kind of this character relationship dynamic going on. And also the artist's sister did some kind of cyber hacking to steal some private information of this company that puts on these mechanized fights and is threatening to release it to the public. So we have these two kind of interplaying aspects of the story. It has a somewhat intriguing concept, and overall I gave this story a 4 out of 5. The next story is called Wireworks by Sherry Singerling, and this was a 5 out of 5 story for me. It was my favorite story from the entire issue. And so these stories on Clarkesworld, they're all free online. So I'm going to link below the issue, and you can click on that. You can read the story if you think it's worthwhile. This one I think is definitely worth the read. It tells the story of a young girl who has recently lost her mother. So it's a story about grief, and she does not have a very sympathetic father. So it's a story about a child who has lost basically her favorite parent, her only parent that showed her compassion. And this cyber circus shows up in town. And so this little girl goes to check out the cyber circus, where she meets a robot, where in this story the robots are called autas. So I guess kind of short for automaton. But anyway, so she goes in this Autas tent or exhibit, whatever it is. He's dressed in this kind of old Frenchman style clothing. He's got these big handlebar mustaches. And he tells her that he provides a service to people where he cures them of their mental ailments. So depression and things like that. And she asks if he can help her with her grief, and he says that he can try. So what he does is gives people this tiny computer chip that he has constructed, and it's definitely this Atta prefers to be called a he and not an it. So he gives her this little computer chip that she puts behind her ear, and he asks, with no charge to her, if she can test this out for him, so he can try to figure out how to cure her grief. And so she wears this computer chip for a while, and it does make her feel better. And so she goes back the next day and says, yes, it seems to be working. He says, let's try it for a little while longer. just to make sure. And when she goes back home, her father is a very angry man, and he doesn't really treat his daughter very nicely. And he also forbids her from going to the circus, from going back to see this Atta. But she has a mind of her own, and she has different ideas. And I don't want to get too much farther into the story, but things escalate from there. And also turns out, and this is kind of from a little bit of an ambiguous ending, but maybe this Atta isn't quite what he seems, or maybe his motivations aren't quite what they seem as well. So it kind of leaves an ambiguous ending when it comes to that. But I really enjoy this story. Had great science fiction concept, a great character story, and like I said, it's free online. Clarkesworld magazine. Go check this one out. 5 out of 5 stars. The next story is called 4 People I Need You to Kill Before the Dance Begins by Lewis Inglis Hall. This was probably my least favorite of the issue, 2.5 out of 5. It's kind of a fantastical story almost. It's about this artificial creature that's it's very like paper-like and thread-like. But this creature is telling the story to the reader and asking you to kill these 4 people. I just, it's kind of hard to follow what was going on in this because you don't really understand what this creature is. And I just didn't really enjoy the story. Yeah, that was my least favorite, and 2 out of 5 stars. The next story is Aperture by Alexander Zablakov. So this was a story about an asteroid habitat that the society and civilization that lived on this habitat has long collapsed from civil conflict, and all the people that were on it, they've left it, so they're gone. And this main character is part of a group that is coming in to try to kind of revitalize this habitat. And his job in particular is social planning and design. So he kind of engineers like city structures and kind of city planning in a best way to accommodate where people like move from place to place and that sort of thing. So it has this kind of interesting aspect of these engineers trying to rebuild this asteroid habitat. But along the way, there's this other person who's trying to sabotage the main character. So has that kind of conflict in the plot going on, which I enjoyed. And this was another story that I liked and I think would be worth reading, and it's a 4 out of 5 stars. For story number 5, we have The Fury of the Glowmen by David McGlivery. So this story was about a military AI that has been created, but then it was deemed too dangerous to keep alive. So the story starts out with the prime minister of this country destroying and deleting the AI. And then the rest of the story is about just kind of people going about their daily lives. A lot of them have these neural devices put in their head to experience a virtual reality world. And as they're going about their daily lives, like there's a scene on a bus, they start seeing these glowing figures. And these glowing figures start to commit violence to people. But it's only the ones with the neural enhancements that can see them. And so this is kind of an AI revenge tale. It was okay. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite. And I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. The next story is called 5 Impossible Things by Koji Day. And this is another one I enjoyed. It's about a terminally ill patient in a hospital who is trying to get integrated so that she can join a virtual reality simulated world to kind of ease her suffering, and so she doesn't have to just live her life confined to a hospital bed. And as she's in this simulated world, she kind of goes through all the impossible things that are happening that, could never happen in the real world. And she has to go through a series of tests so she can integrate, because the way it works is she can't perceive this world as a simulation. If she perceives it as a simulation, the integration is going to fail. So the whole story is kind of her having to pass these tests and trying to find out if she can move over her life into this virtual world. But that means she has to give up her life outside, and she does have a family. So I enjoyed this story. It was another 4 out of 5 for me. It had really good concepts and a good character story. Another one that I would recommend. The last and final story is called A World of Their Own by Robert Falco. So this was another one that I didn't really care for that much. It's about kind of a planetary collapse. The environment's collapsed. The humans all left, so they're gone. And left behind are the humans' creations. So there are these biomechanical creatures that have started to kind of thrive after humans left. And then there are just like purely mechanical robots and drones and things that have also been left to kind of thrive and populate this abandoned planet. And it's just kind of about the interaction between those two categories of beings that have been left behind, which interesting concept. I just didn't feel like the story was executed that well, so this one was a 2 out of 5. So overall, I thought this was a good issue of a science fiction magazine, the September 2025 issue of Clarkesworld. And taking all of the overall stories and my ratings for each one, I'm going to give this magazine a 3.5 out of 5. And I would definitely recommend checking out Clarkesworld if you can. It's at no cost to you. You can get it for free online. I will add the link in the description if you want to read any of these stories. Let me know if you ever read any Clarkesworld, or do you read any of the other science fiction magazines? Which one is your favorite? So as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.